A picture's worth 1,000 words. And this is a sentence that I completely subscribe to in normal life, as well as and especially in my role-playing games. The reason is that I really want my role-playing games to be very, very realistic, and having pictures, visual props, or even miniatures adds to the realism, in my case, a great deal. So both as a player and as a game master, I prefer to be able to show stuff to my players or to be shown stuff by my game masters. Especially when you're playing online, I find this very important, because sometimes when you're playing online with other players, your mind may wander, but having something to look at in common actually helps focus the mind. My big problem here is that I couldn't paint to save my life. I'm totally unable to draw even the simplest things. I never progress beyond stick figures. So I'm always looking for ways of enhancing my games using visual props. And I have done a brief overview over things that you can use, things that you can find on the internet, things that are free to download in my How to Play DSA on a Shoestring. And in that video, I mentioned the so-called Kartenboxen and Grafikboxen by an artist named Ramona von Brasch. And today I would like to do something that I've never done before. I would like to put a little spotlight on a particular artist that I have had the pleasure to work with, and it has really been a pleasure. And this artist is Ramona von Brasch. And for the purpose of this video, I have asked her permission to show a couple of her images and paintings that she has done, and she has given me the right to use them for this video only. So when you see what I'm going to show you, and you can see one of her images already on the screen, please be advised that this was done with her agreement. She is the copyright holder of all of these images, and you cannot just go ahead and use them yourselves. If you would like to use them, please go to the scriptorium and download them. You can also leave more or less money depending on how much you can afford, because they're all pay what you want, but it would be greatly appreciated if you did leave at least some money in her account. And also, that's something that I'll come to later, you can also ask her for a commission, and she will do commissioned artwork for you. So what kind of images and services does Ramona von Brasch offer? Well, first of all, you have all of her Kartenboxen, which contain different images of landscapes, but mainly townscapes, buildings, etc., which you can use in your games. Since she, I don't want to say exclusively specializes in fantasy role-playing game imagery, a lot of them will have kind of like a medieval touch, like the town we're seeing in front of us here. It's as you can see, it's a walled town. I wouldn't call it a city, where you have houses, you also have a market square, you have a little castle, and you also have something that looks like a temple in the top left-hand corner. So this is the kind of image you will get when you get one of the Kartenboxen, and it is really helpful because it sets the scene. Your heroes come to this town. One could even think that this is one of the garrison towns that you find strewn across Aventuria. And it makes perfect sense. It's very nice to look at. It sets the scene, and it gives you an impression of what you can see when you arrive there. You can see that there are two ways into the town, so there are two roads that lead into it, and that also makes it possible for your heroes to plan a hasty escape if they need to. But she also provides bigger cityscapes. Now this is a really big city, as you can see, and it's only even part of it. So this again could be used if you're looking at, for example, Vinhal. This reminds me of Vinhal, where you have a huge city. Actually, it's a garrison town as well. And you can just set the scene saying, you know what, there is a little temple over here. You can see one. There are different houses there. And it really enhances the way you can play the game. Over here, and unfortunately you can't see my mouse, or maybe you can, this would be even a temple of Hesinde. You can see the little snake emblem there. And here you would have probably, that could be Travia if this is a goose. So it is a really, really nice way of throwing something out there, adding visuals to your game. But of course, Aventuria, and I'm talking about DSA especially here, because although she would, although a lot of her art is completely generic, she is an avid and seasoned DSA player, so she knows everything about Das Schwarze Auge that there is to know. She has also contributed to the Wiki Aventurica, and she has also contributed her artwork to other endeavors, and I will link them in the description below. A lot of her imagery will have been taken from DSA and will have been inspired by DSA. So here now we see 3 different images, which I picked because they show the different types of non-medieval European art she has on offer. In the top left-hand corner, we can see something that I would call kind of like a desert landscape with a couple of houses. So that's a desert palm tree, possibly kind of oasis type village. Down here we've got a junglescape, and I will definitely be using this when I'm playing my Uthuria campaign with my group, because you can see those native tribes in the jungle with their huts there. It's really well done. It really gives you the jungle feel. And up here we have something that you would find in the far north. This I could totally see fitting in if you play Frostklingen, where you spend a lot of time in the north. Here you can see the longhouses that are very Thorwalsh. So again, there is something in there for everyone. And also in subsequent later Kartenboxen, she offers 2 versions of each image, one in this sepia tone, which makes it look like a parchment, which is really, really lovely, and one in the white tone. So there you would get the same image twice, once in sepia and once in white. And again, here you can see this is kind of like a ruined hamlet, or maybe a ruined farmstead. Here you can see a bigger farmstead that is in good repair. And also here we have something that I really like. It's interiors of temples. On the left, we have one that is very close to my heart, because I play an ordained one of Rondra. This would be a Rondrite temple, and here we have the insides of a Hisinda temple. Here you can see the snake emblem, you can see the pews. This is probably kind of like a sacristy for the priesthood, and the priestess sleeps over here. So these are also very, very nice ways of introducing your players, putting them into the right frame of mind, that go beyond a simple showing of a cityscape or hamletscape. But in addition to her work when it comes to maps, which I absolutely love, she's also created images that are taken directly from DSA lore, or that reflect things that she has experienced in her own experience as a player. So here we've got the infamous or famous Squirrels of Death, Todeshörnchen, which I think are just cute, although they are very deadly. The way this works is they will actually jump down from a tree with you know, like head forward, and bury their deadly horns in their prey, which will usually be the prey's head, and the prey will die. This is an image that she has asked me specifically to include. It's an elemental, and it's also her own image that she uses on her Facebook page, and I've included this at her request. I think her art is actually really, really fantastic. Even just when you look at the detail, when you look at the background, and the images that she draws of people are so evocative that you can read into their eyes, you can read into their faces, all of their history. This one I included because, first of all, it is again taken from DSA. Secondly, it is to do with the Rondrite belief, because obviously that's a priestess of Rondra. And this is an image that basically tries to explain what it's like for a cleric in DSA to be experiencing the presence of the Godhead, which can happen through trance, for example. And I think this is just so well captured. It captures the mood, and it captures the idea of being really close to your God. Sometimes when you have a really good DM, they will be able to evoke this kind of idea in your head by explaining it to you, or you can think of what your hero might be experiencing. And this, in my opinion, is an extremely good rendition of such a scene. And the next one, or actually I think this is the last one, is a beautifully captured event, which she also drew based on something that happened in her own game. And it is, in my opinion, extremely evocative. You can use this whenever you have somebody who is experiencing a natural event like a thunderstorm in snow. And this gives you a little bit of an overview over the art of Ramona von Brasch. Now, if this is interesting to you, and if I've piqued your interest, then I would encourage you to check out her Facebook page, which I'm also linking to in the description. She takes commissions. She has done 2 commissions for me so far. I asked her to paint something that I don't want to show because it's kind of like a secret. You can find it on her Facebook page, but it doesn't tell you actually what it is, and I won't show it because it's a little bit of a secret at the moment. But she also did a character sketch for me. And, well, it's more than a sketch. It's actually a full-color drawing based on the description that I sent to her. Ramona is a consummate artist, and she is really good at what she does. And the process of creating an image or a picture for a customer is very, very interesting, because I wouldn't know the first thing about painting. I'm not a very artistic person at all. Like I said, I couldn't draw to save my life. So when I first asked for a painting, she asked me for a description of the creature that I wanted her to paint, and then she asked more about the history and etc. And so I gave her information based on the adventure where the creature appears. And it's a DSA adventure, and seeing as she knows so much about DSA, she was even able to pinpoint certain characteristics that I had completely overlooked and put them into the painting. And when I asked her for a character portrait, she went through to great lengths using her knowledge of DSA. It's an ordained one of Rondra, reading up on what their costume looks like, how they are dressed, then making suggestions, then sending me a sketch first. Then we went over the sketch, we made adjustments, and then she rendered the, once we had the final version ready, she gave me the fully colored large painting, which of course I now own, so I have the full copyright to this one. I can use it however I like. But it was really a very, very interesting collaborative process. And of course, it's a process for which you have to pay. It doesn't come for free, but I paid 60 euros for my character portrait, which I don't think is a lot of money, especially when you think about the fact that you will be using this character for a campaign. So the character will stay for you sometimes for several years. So, and it actually, to me personally, it makes a huge difference to have these characters brought to life in an image, because so far she had only been in my head, but now I can look at her and now I can relate to her in a much better way. And also it's possible for me to introduce her to my group, and they can see what I see in my mind's eye. So this was just a very, very brief introduction to Ramona von Brasch. I encourage you to go to the links below to check out her artwork, to get in touch with her if you would like to have a character drawn, if you would like to have a creature drawn. You can also ask her for specifically drawn maps. If you go to the Alrix, which is a channel that I've mentioned several times on my own channel, and you watch their Call of Cthulhu playthrough of, I think, Das Corbett House, you will see some of the artwork that was commissioned by them, and Ramona drew for them. And it's basically maps. I did not include them here because, first of all, they are part of the carton box, but they were commissioned by the Ulrichs. So I'm pretty sure that the Ulrichs own the copyright, and I don't want to show stuff that was commissioned by somebody else because obviously they paid for it, they hold the copyright, and I didn't want to infringe on that. Again, I would like to thank you for your attention, and please go and check out Ramona von Brasch's Facebook page. Check in with her if you've got any requirements with regard to visuals for your games, be it as a player or a game master. And also, please respect her copyright. Do not use any of the imagery that I showed in this video. If you do want to use some of her imagery, please get in touch and discuss the financial details. And have a lovely day and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.